Hello and welcome. Today we are joined by Dominic Moon, who is physiotherapist and is the lead for Pure Physio Sports in the North. Dom, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Andy. Always a pleasure to speak to you and the rest of your team.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, likewise. And yeah, I've been down with Finn and Chris in Norwich this week as well. So it's nice to hear some of the plans for the company. And just on that, like, I mean, how do you find being a part of Pure Physio? Because like from the outside, I know we do some work with you, but you see loads of amazing, really cool stuff going on. Like you see your branding there, you've got loads of different things, the change of name for the parent company. How have you found it being involved in such a what from the external looks like such a thriving and prospering company?
Well, that it definitely is. I think there's been huge changes since I joined Pure. Back in 2021 is when I came on board. I think we might have had 7 or 8 clinics to now in the 40s. It gives us huge amount of scope to develop both internal and external CPD. Look at the different kind of services that we can offer to more specialist services with the fantastic staff that we have on board and grow exponentially, in my opinion, what me and Chris work on, which is the sports service, being able to get things in like the Shockwave service, which we've obviously purchased from you guys, and develop lots and lots of exciting new staff, giving them a new opportunity to go into a different role within clinics, which I don't think has been done with any company previously. Everyone seems to just keep on the straight and narrow of MSK, but to be working with elite and professional athletes alongside your clinic work is such an exciting opportunity. So yeah, loads of changes, and I'm sure there's going to be loads of changes moving forwards within the next kind of few years. And we've got a lot on the horizon, which I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to speak about, but I'll speak about what I can. But yeah, it's been an exciting, challenging, time-consuming last few years, but it's really nice to be a part of.
Yeah, no, it's really good, and we'll come back to some of those things that you've been working on that you're able to talk about. So for you then, so where are you from?
I'm from Rotherham, so I'm from the same part of the world that Finn is from. Our managing director, which I'm sure you've done a podcast before and spent a lot of time with. Um, yeah, so I actually started in the NHS. I did some time with Sheffield Wednesday alongside as an intern, as a student, and then went on to work with them part-time alongside my NHS rotations onto being a Band 6 MSK. And then I actually went into the world of occupational health. So I was the occupational health clinical specialist at Rotherham NHS Foundation Trusts, which was, I believe at the time, a 30-hour contract. Allowed me to do a little bit of part-time private work on the side, and I found myself working with quite a few athletes and golfers with my background being a golfer. Been a golfer most of my life growing up and played to a decent level. So I had a decision to make whether I wanted to go down the private route or continue NHS. I enjoyed the time in the NHS, but I believed that I could make more changes and be a little bit more in charge of development and um, moving kind of forward with the career and moving physio forward by doing private work. So I then opened my own clinic called DCM Health and Fitness, where we did physiotherapy and strength and conditioning in a place called Ravenfield in Rotherham. Did that for a couple of years up until COVID, and then COVID, as it did for most of us, was a challenging time, and funds become quite difficult around that time with having to close quite an element of the business. It was around that time I met Finn. Luckily, I had a colleague that was working for Pure and put us in touch with each other. And Finn was looking for a sports physio to take on the role that I'm in now. And we kind of merged together, and that small business that I'd created became part of Pure. I did my sports and exercise medicine masters around the same time as well, with not being so busy in clinic during COVID, and then came into the role that I eventually have been in since.
Yeah, no, that's a good summary. And then in terms of that sports medicine masters, then, so when you say sports physio, just for people who not familiar with that, what do you class as a sports physio or a MSK or just a general physio?
So we have set some guidelines within Pure into at what point in your career could you move over to be a sports physio or describe yourself as such. And that can be through experience. So having extensive experience in working with a sports club. So that might be working with a football team, rugby club for many years, and developing those skills by working with those kind of patients. Or working your way through a master's like sports medicine, where you will do some time working with sports clubs. That might be as almost like a student or as an experience type way, or doing extensive postgrad or MSc modules within sports medicine or kind of sports therapy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because I think sport is growing massively. Even now, you can see like the interest in football, even that you couldn't think would be getting any bigger, and it's absolutely thriving in that area. So, how have you seen it in that shift of from working a little bit in the NHS and then doing this now? Like the change seems to be massive from our experience of the growing area because really, I think most people when they say physio, they tend to kind of assume that it's sports related or something. Or certainly that's my background is that you go into the physio, even if it's a sports therapist, it's a sports rehabber, they're just all generically called physio, and a lot of it is
Mm.
associated with sport. So like where do you see it like your stuff sitting within that the general wider private practice world?
I suppose the difference being if you were to go to a physio working within the NHS, often you'll see one person within a cubicle, a few bits of equipment, and we'll give you an assessment, a decent assessment, hopefully be able to give you a somewhat of a diagnosis, a plan, a few exercises, maybe a little bit of manual therapy. We look at it as treating every person like they are an elite athlete. So if you look at the top clubs, they're not just going to get a short assessment and a little plan. You're going to be working through your rehab with that person. You're going to be assessed with more elite equipment, so dynamometry, force plates, optojump, whatever that might sports physio might have. They're going to have a little bit more experience in depth of assessment skills. So being able to be a bit clearer with the diagnosis plan and timescales, and the rehab picture process is going to be working within that role as well. So a little bit more in depth, a little bit more skills, a little bit more equipment to kind of keep it simple.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's helpful. And like for you then, so what prompted you to want to go into the area of physio?
When I was a golfer, I was playing in the English amateur, and I got through to, I think it was the last 32. I was doing pretty well, and I pulled my back. And England Golf had an on-site physio, and he basically kept me going. I would have had to pull out of that event. I'd have been really, really upset at the time. I thought I was going to be a pro golfer, which obviously hasn't worked out. And he got me through to, I think, the quarterfinals. Being able to swing a golf club and do as well as I could do. And I thought the not just the physical changes that guy made that week, the changes that he made to me emotionally and reduced my stress, and just it felt like my best friend that week, even though I just met the guy. And it really made a big difference in that part of my life. And I thought, if I can go and help someone in that way, where I can help them emotionally, I can help them physically, and be a big part of a big section of someone's life, and remember them as such that I do this guy, then that's such a cool thing to do.
So what was he doing there? They're quite powerful words that you use in there. Like what was he doing?
A lot of manual therapy, as I remember. But he'd sit down and talk to me about what I wanted to achieve that day. It was almost like a mind and body coach to a degree, and that's what we end up being as physios. We speak a lot with our clients and patients, and end up being that psychological support as well as the kind of hands-on and just rehab plans. But he was just giving me a real good plan of what I needed to do, how I needed to achieve, getting around a golf course each day, what I could do if things went well, what I could do if things went badly, letting me know that by the end of the round, if it went badly or well, he was going to be waiting there for me to give me that support, cool down, rub down, whatever it meant. But again, it was the psychological side of that, thinking if I really hurt myself here today, I've got someone who can put me right, carry me home. And yeah, those are the real differences that he made.
Yeah, oh, that's really interesting. Do you keep in touch with him?
No, no, never saw him again, but he just made a huge, huge impact on that small amount of time. This was 1 week out of my life that I'll never forget. And if I could, I would go back and thank him.
Yeah, no, that's really, really good to hear. And it's had such a massive impact on you as your career. So, like for you then, so how old were you at that point, and like how realistic was it at that point that you could have been a pro golfer?
I was around 2021. At the time, I thought I was going to be a golfer. Looking back now, I probably wasn't quite good enough. Can be a bit more realistic now around how good you have to be in sport to make it as any athlete. I had the goal and the plan to go to America under scholarship, but rather than getting an agent like you're supposed to go down the route of to find yourself a college that's going to give you a good scholarship, I tried to do it myself because I didn't have the family funds to pay for an agent. That meant that I didn't do it right, and I ended up I was at doing my A levels at the time. I decided to go to a golf academy in the UK. I contacted the college that had offered me a scholarship and said, if I do this different course, I think it was a BTEC instead of A levels, is that okay? Can I still go to your college? They said yes. So I swapped from this A level, doing A levels, going to do a BTEC at a golf academy, golf college, and in the UK. And then a year in, I got an email saying we've misjudged what course you're doing and what qualification it is. Unfortunately, we're going to have to withdraw your scholarship. So it was quite a depressing moment. I didn't really know what to do next. I was still playing good golf, but I turned to various jobs. Delivered pizzas for a while. I was a cleaner. I was a little cook in a driving range. I picked up golf balls. I worked in a call center. Worked with my old man plastering. I've done a bit of everything before I figured out, that's what I remember being a really good job and the route I want to go down.
Yeah, I can imagine that'd be soul destroying. Where were you going to go to in America?
It was part of Florida. It was, I think it was, I've kind of blanked out part of my,
Yeah, I
my
don't want to
brain with this.
shouldn't keep grilling you on it. Florida
Yeah,
sounds
it
good.
was. I think it was called St. Petersburg. I think it was a small like offcut of Florida on the west coast, I believe, a small college. But I know that they were going to give me a pretty good ride. I was probably good enough to go to a much better college, but like I said, I just didn't go through the proper routes.
Yeah. Yeah, you learn from that stuff, don't you? I mean, you're making those decisions at that age. I was absolutely clueless around that time, and yeah, I guess you learn from it. So then, at what point did you then decide that physio? What was like? How old were you, and like, what was the pathway to that?
So I was probably 23, 24, I believe. I decided that no, this is what I want to do. I need to go and apply for some universities, and realised I didn't have the qualifications because I went away from A levels to BTEC.
What
So
was the BTEC in?
it was in, can't remember, maybe sport something, can't remember, but it wasn't a good enough qualification to get on to do physio. As we know, there's a lot of people that apply for physio, and there's a lot of people get turned down every year. So they have to put the standards fairly high to not have too many people applying for the same roles. So I went back to college with the support of my parents, who were great at that point, and supported me through doing an access to health higher education, and that allowed me to then apply for university, which I did at Sheffield Hallam.
Right, yeah, that's good. Good spot in Sheffield, Hallam. What's the what's the building called that you do physio in there? It's really, really nice, very rural, isn't it? And very hilly.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, what's it? The campus,
It's the collegiate campus, isn't it?
collegiate,
And
collegiate. Yeah,
the
yeah.
collegiate campus, yeah, no, it's really, yeah, it's a lovely spot there. So, like, what was it like you going in terms of were you quite a bit older than the other people that were doing the course?
Yeah, I was kind of 24, 25. No, I'm 30. Oh, no. Yeah, I must have been 23 actually, or 23 at that point. Yeah, there's a fair amount of people that do it out of high school and A levels, isn't there? So there's a lot of 18-year olds there. So I was a little bit older, but I met some good friends who were early 30s that were doing the course at that time anyway. So I didn't feel like I was one of the older ones by any means, but with a little bit more life experience, I'd say.
Yeah, I think and it's certainly again sort of like my immaturity levels. You just picking at 18, basically what you want to do. That's really difficult, isn't it? So I think doing what you did, albeit not by design, it's actually quite helpful sometimes because you're actually probably more invested in learning and studying, whereas that really I wasn't that bothered really at that point. And then when you decided to do that, then was there a clear path of what you wanted to do? Was it to get back into helping golfers, or was it to NHS? Like, what was the plan?
I think I was quite open-minded when I researched more into it and I got the support to actually apply and go for the interviews for university, understanding that there's different roles within physio, there's neuro, there's respiratory, there's MSK. So I was told to keep an open mind with what path I might want to go down, which I suggest for anyone that's got an interest of going into physiotherapy. I know a lot of people who've gone in with a strong mindset of doing MSK and ending up as a respiratory physio or a neuro physio. So I wanted to keep an open mind, but in the back of my mind, still fancied doing MSK and sport. But yeah, I thought I'll try as hard as I can at each area and see where I stand at the end of it, knowing I'd have to do some placements and I might find that I enjoy certain placements more than other. But yeah, by the end of it, I was still an MSK physio, which was kind of nice because that's the main reason I wanted to go into it. Didn't change or put me off in any way. And then went straight into the rotations at Rotherham NHS and managed to um, secure an MSK band 6, which meant I didn't have to do the on-call respiratory and neuro work as some of my colleagues did for as long as they did. But I think I was able to progress quite quickly in my career and secure that band 6 MSK role because I was more mature going into my education. I was more mature through my education and able to develop with the patients as well in a different way than I would have done if I was 18.
Hmm. And like, in terms of getting jobs, like you see now, there's big news that there's like 20 jobs for the 3,000 graduates. What was it like for you when you were coming out?
There were jobs, yeah, nothing like it is now. Nothing like it is now. I remember speaking to someone who, even kind of 10 years before they left physio because there were no jobs. So it certainly wasn't that hard, but there was maybe 5 posts, 10 people going for it. So a decent chance you were going to get the role if you did well in an interview, but in no way did you come out of the interview thinking I've definitely got a job at the end of it.
Hmm. Yes, it's funny, isn't it, really? Because it's such a vocational course, very intense course that you've got to do. And then it's like, well, it's quite hard. Like, what do you do if so much of it can be geared about going into the NHS? And so when you got that role, like, how did you find that?
Good. At the time, we had some fantastic band sixes and band sevens. So I had really good education right from the start. So the likes of Andrew Cuff was my band six. Um, I think some of the names. Joe, another real big good physio in Yorkshire. Yeah, there were many really good and supportive supervisors, seniors that I felt that I got the best possible education that I could. It was only when we got to I got to that band 7 role. That's when the FCP role came in, so the first contact physio, and it took quite a lot of seniors out of MSK working in that kind of frontline treating position into supporting GPs in the role that they're in now. And it's such an important role. But there was a time where those new grads probably didn't get the support that I feel that I got because there weren't as many supportive physios around. But yeah, I think that's coming back to being a bit more normalised, that the positions have been out for much longer, where if you are coming out of university, going into one of those junior roles, you probably get a similar experience that I did, which is great.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, well, definitely. I think that support on things is important. And then when you come out, you got that role. Then, like, were you still involved with golf in any way? Were you playing golf?
Not as much, like you said, it's such a full-on, challenging qualification and degree. You just don't get quite the same time and energy to continue those sort of hobbies as it was at that point, to the same level as if you did other courses. I think in my first year I did really well. I remember traveling up to Scotland with on the train with my golf bag and a duvet, trying to find somewhere to stay for a night, and managed to win quite a big event. But I think after that, I was concentrating more on my education and trying to get the most out of what I was there to achieve. I'm back playing pretty good now. Won the Seton Salver this year, which I'm quite happy with, which is a Yorkshire 36-hole Order of Merit event. So nice to be back playing some good golf, but it's taken me a while to do that. I'll kind of struggle for a while because I've been concentrating on career.
Mm. So, how did you get into the occupational health?
There was a person that was working at Rotherham called Elaine, that was very good and offered me a lot of support. There seemed to be quite a progressive route into moving up the ranks in that kind of world as well. It wasn't the position where everyone was fighting to move into occupational health, but I did see the benefits of it and being able to support staff to keep them in work, especially your doctors and nurses and other physios that we'd treat. So I find it quite exciting from that point of view. You're not treating someone who is coming to an appointment with zero knowledge. You're treating health professionals, so there's a challenge associated with trying to educate someone who's already got a lot of education. Imagine trying to treat a consultant and tell them that they're not kind of thinking about their injury or recovery in a way that's positive to the whole process, which don't always take it great, but got a lot of those guys got on board and had really good relationships with them. So I found that really exciting. Then I did some qualifications in occupational health down in London, and that helped me get that clinical specialist role when Elaine, the lady who was my kind of mentor and supervisor at the time, moved on.
Mm. And how long were you doing that for?
A couple of years before I went private, and then it was the only a really good time in the NHS, and like I said, really good seniors, supervisors, and educators. The only thing that I really wanted to be able to do was make quick and decisive decisions. So, like if we wanted an ultrasound machine or a shockwave, there's a lot of red tape for obvious reasons within the NHS, and you can kind of cut through quite a lot of that in the private world, especially if you are in charge of your own company, which I was at the time. If I wanted something, I'd just find the resources to get that option.
Mm. Yeah, but with that also comes the stress of having to pay for it yourself and
Oh yeah.
do all that stuff of it as well. So how did you find going from, because you hadn't been doing it that long, to then set up your own clinic? It's stressful, isn't it, setting your own business up?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, initially, before I went ahead and did the whole renting a building and getting employees and in place and marketing and everything that you have to do. Luckily, I had a family friend who owned some offices, and he offered me a small office room for nothing at the time, and just said, "Do you want to treat some patients in there and see if it kind of gets you up on your feet, if that's something you want to do?" So if he hadn't have done that, I probably never would have gone down that route. never would have set up by myself in a bigger sense, and I wouldn't have been as in a position to merge in with Pure. So you do need help along the way. You're never going to be successful without someone offering a bit of support, whether that be financial or emotional along the way. I don't think.
Yeah, probably all of it, to be honest. I think I still
Yeah.
need it regularly. Still need that regularly. So yeah, that's you can never have enough of either of those.
What about yourself, Andy? Who helped you along the way?
I mean, my mum and dad definitely, like financially for sure. And then yeah, probably still owe them a load of money, which is just kind of that there's no contract on that stuff, is there? My brother is always like a massive support. He's always been quite entrepreneurial doing that bit of it. But also I think it's like naivety of setting your own business up. I did it, and then I knew, I think, relatively quite a lot about business. And then you do it, and it's like, what the hell is this? Like, what
Yeah.
VAT? You're paying this, you're doing that. So it's all of these things come out, and you're like, shit, I'm not getting a salary anymore. This is what's going on here. I've got to pay for this stuff myself. So I felt like, but you learn a lot from it as well.
Yeah, there's so many different aspects that you can create as many business plans and models as you like, but it never goes exactly as planned with it. And I
No.
remember, on my weekends with my dad, 5 o'clock in the morning, helping to plaster, redo, paint this property that we're setting up. I think we did it for 30 days straight, from 5 o'clock in the morning till about 8 at night for 30 days, where I was still working in the NHS. And those days that I was working, I'd do it before work, go and do my NHS hours, and then go straight back and crack on in the evening. God knows how I did it. I don't be able to do it now.
Yeah, and I think those things though, sometimes how did you find that rewarding as well? Like as well as it being knackering?
Once it was done and we did our open day and put some balloons on the window, it was the best feeling in the world. The 25th, 26th day of doing it in a row, and my old man, bless him, crippled over because he'd work and help me or my brother until there was no breath left in his body. He's that kind of guy. It wasn't the best feeling at that point, but yeah, it was worth it in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's really hard doing anything. But yeah, I think if you're not trying to do stuff, then it's probably going to be quite a boring existence. Yeah, everyone's got their own ideas on things. And then so I think we shut our clinic just before COVID. So we shut ours, or we sold it in like November 2019. So we were really
Mm.
fortuitous in regards to that. So what was it like for you then? Like because we were kind of getting information. It sort of started in the December, didn't it? In terms of hearing news, and then it was like gradually getting worse. What were you like? What was your mindset like? Was that your sole income? Was the clinic at that point?
Yes. Oh no, I was doing a couple days NHS, so I managed to keep on. I was kind of hanging on to that security for as long as I could, just to make sure that I wasn't going to be fully at risk. But I knew that there was a huge risk still on its way. I bought God knows how much Dettol and whatever I could, gloves, just to show the community that we were safe and we were doing everything we could to keep them safe. But still, people started to start with symptoms, and then there'd be a few less coming to a conditioning class or a rehab class. Start to affect the finances a little bit, and then yeah, it got quite scary at the point where we started to have to close for a short period. We did a lot of kind of over 60 strength and conditioning for the elderly community in the area, which was fantastic. They all had great outcomes from these classes, and they never actually came back because even afterwards there was still a lot of fear around it. I know the time around rental, talking to having long discussions and meetings with landlords about rental prices and rental freezes and water bills and everything. There was a different challenge at that point where we weren't seeing patients, but we still had all these overheads that we were just trying to get down to an absolute minimum. But those companies don't want to part with the money either. So it's a big wrestling match.
Yeah, no, it was. It was a really, we were really lucky with that bit of it, because it's admin as well, isn't it? Not only the cash, but there's loads of things you got to deal with that no one's got a clue of how to solve anyway. No one else knew how to handle it. So how did you meet Finn then? So how did that encounter
So
happen?
do you know Adam Davies?
No.
He's the head of health and wellbeing. He does the health and wellbeing side of Pure Health and Wellbeing. He's setting up the pain cafes, a lot of the pain cafes at the moment. You might have seen
Okay.
them on social
Yeah, yeah.
media.
Mm.
He was he was a band 6 when I was a band 5 in the NHS, and we got on really well. He was a really good footballer, played a bit of five-a-side with him. I think he was actually Wales's captain when he was like under 21, even when Bale was in the team. And he did his ACL. I remember he rehabbed it and then did his ACL again, and it got infected, and he never played again properly.
Mhm.
But he's a really nice guy. If you ever get a chance to speak to him, I'm sure he'll be able to give you a lot of insight to the pain side of what Pure are doing.
I thought you were going to say
But
about
yeah,
Gareth Bale, but yeah, that'll be get back
yeah,
Gareth
him as
Bale as
well.
well.
He's a good golfer now. But yeah, Adam's a really good friend, and he had started working as the area lead, I think, at that time for Pure for Yorkshire. So he suggested that I have a chat with Finn. I was actually away on a golf trip at the time when we were talking to Finn, and I think we spent one call just talking about our dogs for half an hour, because that's what Finn's like. And then, yeah, after a few calls, we decided that financially it's the right thing to do, but also at the time, I just started seeing who is now my wife, and she was getting posted from, I think, Surrey up to North Yorkshire, and it gave us the opportunity to. I said, "Look, can I look to maybe open up somewhere else, as I am right now in Beedale, North Yorkshire, rather than spend all my time down in South Yorkshire?" And Finn was quite happy to do that. So, um, from a social point of view, a home life, family life, it was the right decision to make.
And so, what were the plans like when you're having these conversations? What was the vision at that point?
So I came in, and that was the first starting point, was to create a 5-year business plan, 10-year business plan with Chris and Finn. And the long-term goal has always been to have almost like a sports medicine type service. There's a lot of financial challenges that comes with that. To have a doctor working with us, having scanning equipment, but that's still going to be the goal long term. In the short term is to have all these clinics that we've opened, to have as many of them that are capable of housing sports physio. So that means dynamometry equipment, testing equipment, and the right caliber of staff that have done either the right experience, as I've said before, or post-grad education to be taking on sports appointments.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense on it as well, and you can see that the NHS is really struggling with it. And the clinics that we speak with, and I interact with a lot of clinicians and business owners all the time, and it feels like well, not feels like it, there's demand. There's people are busy, like you and I were catching up just before, and you're really busy with patients, which is a really exciting opportunity. And you have a lot. There's a lot of negativity around stuff, which I do understand, but also I'm always of the mindset of like, what are the opportunities with this as well? So, like, how do you see it going from an NHS to private perspective, and like, what role do you see pure sports physio and pure physio in general playing in that?
I think we're in a position, as we have done in parts of the country already, to support the NHS. The NHS is fantastic. It's accessible. It should be accessible for anyone within the country, and it for me it needs to stay, but it might need a little bit more support from people like us. We can't have people who have got acute injuries that's affecting their livelihood, whether they be self-employed or their career as an athlete, that are waiting several months for an appointment. And that's nothing to do with the physios on the ground, because I know some guys who work in the NHS who are absolutely brilliant physios, But what we can do is work together to create better supportive pathways and treatment options for those that need it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think it is an exciting time, and Pure's quite a unique company in that you're involved in both ends of the spectrum from the NHS work as well as doing the work that you're doing, which is quite a nice piece. And like, what's it like working with Finn? Because he's the most enthusiastic person. Like I sat down with him and did a podcast with him, and I said like you are the best salesperson, one of the best salespeople I've ever met, and he sort of like was like, but he is just because you speak to him, you just think, I want to be a part of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Anyone he speaks to about any sort of project, they want to be involved in it because that's how he is. He's eccentric. He's excitable. When I first showed him Ravenfield, he drove over after I think he'd done several meetings in Sheffield, Manchester, and then drove over back to Rotherham for to meet me for the first time. And I think the first thing he did is he ran in and did 10 pull-ups before we even spoke. And it's just full of energy, full of beans. And I think having that kind of passion to move forward, to progress, it's always nice to be working for someone like that. I think
Yeah. No,
sometimes it needs people to say, actually, we need to think about these sort of things and be a bit more realistic. But to have the main boss be the guy that says, yes, I want to do it, that's always a great thing.
yeah, no, I think it definitely is. And I always just, it's really enjoyable and you've got so many different ideas on stuff. But then as you grow, it comes with challenges of, like you say, structure and policy, all of those things, which I find really tedious, but is essential to help you grow things as well. And like that for you as well. And so, how do you switch off from doing what you're doing? You've got loads of stuff on, dealing with a lot of stuff, loads of growth. But how do you switch off from what you're doing?
Got a cockapoo, little dog. Love walking the dog. I've got a great family. My in-laws live locally, always popping around to their house, having dinner out in the town. Live in North Allerton now, lovely little town, lovely place to live between the Yorkshire Moors and the Yorkshire Dales. So it's quite a relaxing part of the world. It's quite easy to switch off around here, to be honest. Enjoy playing golf again. It's nice to play well. When I'm on a golf course now, I'm not thinking about how things I need to do next week or jobs I've got to complete. I can quite switch off. Whereas when I used to work for myself, when I had DCM Health and Fitness, it was never, the phone was never turned off, and that does affect what happens in your personal life and your hobbies. So yeah, I don't find it too difficult, but I think that's partly because of the family and friends I have around me and the part of the world that I live in.
You always seem very calm whenever we've interacted. Is that an accurate reflection, or is there more stuff going internally?
No, I think I'm fairly a calm person. I don't know if that's because of my background in sport or again just my home life is just so relaxed and happy. I think that not it'll take a lot to flip a switch to really upset me, but I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's great to hear that you say how happy it is. That's all you can ask for really on that. And in terms of like professional development outside of the clinical world, do you read much like books, self-development, professional development, podcasts, anything like that?
I think I enjoy having time to support the rest of the staff. So I'm often getting asked questions, whether they be sport related or complex patient related. It allows me to turn my own brain on and think about what I've done, how I'd do things differently, and then I generally research from that. So a lot of the research I do now is scenario based on what I've got in front of me. I do feel like I've not put off more education, but since I did my masters a few years ago, I felt like I wanted a bit of a break. Where I think now I'm ready to look at the next thing, which might be doing my injection or ultrasound courses, moving more into kind of that world as a little bit more of a consultant type position.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and as a physio then doing what you do, like how how many options do you see as to where you can go with in the space that you're in?
Now I'm well and truly into the kind of sports and ACP role. The further you go into anything, the narrower it gets. As a new grad early on in your career physio, there's thousands of doors you can go through. It doesn't mean because I'm what I've done, I suppose there's narrower options. I'm not going to suddenly turn around and say, oh, I want to do neurophysio, I want to go down that route. But I could easily hop and help the company with more occupational health referrals with my history. Or we could go into more kind of scanning and injecting and supporting what some of the FCP contracts we've got. So I can kind of bounce across the line, but yeah, I wouldn't really want to veer off from what our plans are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, looks really great. Like all the stuff that Pure are doing, interacting with you, Chris and Finn is really exciting for us, and we love it. Like we can see so many opportunities, and it's a real privilege for us to be able to help and play some part in your growth and be a part of it because it all looks really good. So I really appreciate your time and thanks for fitting me in your busy schedule. You see, golfing's another thing. It's like I'm from Birkdale originally, and I still don't play any golf, which I know is a bit of it's a real wasted opportunity. That.
Well, the Birkdale's hosting the British Open next year. So, have you ever been? Have you ever been to the Open?
Oh yeah, no, I go all the time. That we used to actually bunk onto which is probably to do people like your dads in. We used to bunk on when I was a kid growing up. We'd go on the sandhills and do that. But I always go to the golf. Like my mates are all members, and I go to it all the time. It's just I've never got into it. I think I'm too impatient and get too frustrated at being crap.
Yeah.
That's not helpful for being a golfer, is it?
No, I think that's why I'm calm because I've played it all my life, and you need to be able to keep you calm. Oh, don't get me wrong. I'll definitely lose my head and get angry and say a few choice words, but it's about being able to overcome it and relax and just think about the next shot, which I think is important in life and your career as well, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, that's I don't know whether is it too late for me to start doing it now
No,
or no.
not at all. You live in the best part of the world for golf. You've got everything around you. You've got Royal Liverpool not too far. We've got Formby courses. You've got
Hillside's a
the
good one, isn't it? Still like Hillside.
in, incredible. I mean, you live in the dream as a golfer where you are. So just give it another go, please.
All right, yeah, I'll bear that in mind on it. No, but Dom, really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing, and we'll catch up soon.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.